ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Chamber of the Wraith. My name is Brian, and today I've got a special little present from Skynet for you guys. The Terminator. Fun fact, this is probably one of the few, if not the only guest in Mortal Kombat history to have been offered from outside Netherrealm. See, the Terminator was part of a massive press release thing that they did for Terminator Dark Fate. And far be it from Mortal Kombat to miss an opportunity for the Terminator to be in a brutal fighting game. Sure. In fact, the Terminator was supposed to be in Mortal Kombat X, but the deal fell through. However,
The Terminator.
this robotic bastard brings something rather interesting. The fact that he was in multiple games
Cyberlink Quay Assembly.
because of Dark Fate. Paramount did not want to waste the opportunity of having the Terminator be a promotional character in any way, shape, or form. So, you know what that means. Terminator was in a lot. He was in Gears of War 5, and he was in Ghost Recon Breakpoint, I think it was. It was one of the Ghost Recon games for sure. And quite frankly, the guy was in so much that I would be genuinely surprised if all of the companies approached Paramount at the same time. It's more likely that Paramount went to the game companies, which means the Terminator was in here because Paramount requested and likely had a nice chunk of change in exchange for using Mortal Kombat as a Terminator advertising thing. So, now that that little history lesson is out of the way, let's talk about... Does this back 3? Yes, it does. Let's talk about the Terminator's unique physical unique attacks. Normal attacks, that is. Starting off with Hammer Slammer! Hang on. Okay, just making sure that I actually have the audio. So, Hammer Slammer! A mid that ends with a high unblockable that will only hit airborne opponents, so it's only an anti-air. So if Spawn, say, were to jump... Hold on. I could get that for 11% for free. But if he's on the ground, the second hit is never going to land. This attack on its own is good for side switching. But you have to be careful because the Terminator is left open to attack. So if back one is blocked, I believe the frame data is actually here somewhere. Yeah, so the back one itself is -7. If it just stopped at back one, he would be mostly safe. But because there's 19 extra frames in the middle because you can use how many active frames there were after the active frames for the smack land. Because there were 19 to 20 extra frames, you literally have what is effectively -20. So you just block Hammer Slammer, and then you can punish with whatever fast button that you want. Then we have Gutbuster, which is down 1. It's 6 frames! Oh my god! Why is nobody talking about the fact that Terminator has a 6-frame down 1? Everybody says, or literally everybody will say, if it's -6, only Raijin Reagan can punish it. Are you forgetting about this? This is the fastest poke I've ever seen in another realm, in Mortal Kombat 11, I should say. I think there are faster pokes in other realm games. Still, 6 frames, -3. -3 to -4 depending on range. This is hilarious. So, if you see a Terminator, -6 becomes the minimum speed. Wow. Alright, Double Barrel. It's a 13 frame high, launches, and can chain into itself. And also chain into Hammer Slammer, so you could do something like this. Just for super basic damage. Then we have Rising Shrapnel. It's his uppercut. A 10 frame down 2 with incredible range. And, uniquely, Terminator doesn't really offer up his own hurt box if he does this thing. So, he, I believe, is actually immune to uppercuts? Let's try that. so that counters it. I just want to see... Yeah, I think you can't punch this guy if he's crouching. Never mind. Okay, so he can be punished by that. So I was wrong about him being basically invulnerable, but still. The fact that he uses his shotgun as an uppercut helps him in most situations where most other uppercuts, even Jades and Spawns, would cause trouble. Then we have Steel Heel. Standing 3, nothing to write home about, 11 frames. Oh, before I forget, Double Barrel is -9 on block. Rising Shrapnel is -20 on Flawless block and -10 in normal block, but knocks the opponent back, so it's effectively safe. And Steel Heel is -4 on Flawless block and on normal block. Then we have Rising Boot. One of the goofiest looking down 3s I've ever seen. But weirdly, one of the best anti-airs as far as pokes go. If Spawn were to jump in at me... Watch this. Look at that. I anti-aired him. And look at that. Canceled it into his command grab, which we're going to talk about. But you don't usually see pokes anti-airing. So I guess the Terminator is just full of weirdness. Then we have Heavy Soul, which is a 14-frame standing attack that kind of launches the opponent. However, Heavy Soul is +1 on block, and a Flawless block is still +1. By the way, the down 3 is always -4. Barrel Bash is his sweep. 13 frames, -12 on block, and he is left standing, so he's easier to punish. -17 on Flawless block, by the way. He's easier to punish from the sweep than some other characters because he doesn't lower himself. Then there's Bait Boot, which is 16 frames, so slightly slower, but is a mid. That is -6 on Flawless block. And -1 on normal block. So you can do something like that because it special cancels, or if you launch, if you're quick enough, might work better in the corner, but you can totally get the command grab off of that. Then there's Shinbreaker, which is a really good down 4 with nice range. On block, it's -8 on Flawless block, and just -8 overall. But there aren't too many 8-frame attacks I can think of that reach this far. So you might be okay. Next we gotta talk about, because we haven't done this yet, his jumping attacks, one of his short hops, and, well, both of his short hops, because that's how we do that, and his get-up attacks. None of his throws have crushing blows. It's just worth noting. So first up we have Aerial Dominance, High Altitude Bomber, and Skull Crush. Nothing to write home about these things. Aerial Dominance is air-to-air, makes sense. High Altitude Bomber helps start combos. And Skull Crush is jumping kicks. Then there's Alloy Hammer and Controlled Demolition. Alloy Hammer is a 14-frame wallop that knocks the opponent down. Controlled Demolition is a stumpy 10-frame attack that is -11. Alloy Hammer is also -11. However, on Flawless block, the punches are -16, and the kicks are also -16, so they have the same frame data. But if the Terminator manages to short hop over a low attack, he gets a short hop crushing blow launcher, which until Fujin's release was unique to him. And it also beats ducking attacks too, like uppercuts. So you get this, and you can actually get combos going. As you can see, really nice combos. And the damage was pretty respectable too. It's not exactly one of these, but it still gets the job done, especially if you're punishing low attacks with this. Short hop, beat a low attack, eat this, get your combos going. I have a really hard time with the NetherRealm command grab inputs today, but you get the idea. Really unique, until Fujin, by the way. In Fujin's, you have to hover for a little bit. Terminator's just yeet! And then you're well on your way. So, I don't know what the deal is with that, but I wish more short hops had this. Then we have his wake-up attacks, which we're just going to do off of jumping attacks. And jumping attacks. So first up is Unbending Frame, an 11-frame invincible wake-up attack. On block, Unbending Frame, I didn't hold block long enough evidently. There we go. Is -8, but on flawless block, it is -13. So it's not safe, especially at this range. Then there's Piston Launcher, which has fairly good anti-airing, but nothing to write home about. On block, Piston Launcher is -13. Now let's talk combo attacks. Terminator doesn't have that many, so we won't be here for long. First up is Eliminate All Humanity, which leaves the opponent standing and is a really good way to kind of cash out into your buttons. The full string is, I believe, safe. Yeah, it's -5, so not even a Terminator can beat this thing. But end it partway through, it's -5, and the jab is -3. Then we have Rose from Ashes, which ends with a sneaky little low that leaves Terminator +29 on hit. So you do this, you dash in, go for a throw, you get the idea. However, on block, Rose from Ashes is -3, so it's actually safer than Eliminate All Humanity. So on block, you might be tempted to actually go for Rose from Ashes. And you wouldn't exactly be in the wrong either, because you're -3 and this close to the opponent. Unless they got fast buttons, you'll be able to beat them. Then we have Say Goodbye, which is nothing to write home about at first, especially since the throw only does 70 damage, the same as the sweep. But the thing is, it's a true throw. You can't block this, but you can neutral duck it. And this is where the trouble comes in. Terminator has a native overhead, which can be special canceled. So, go for a command grab, for instance, for more damage. Or use this for some distance and be +24. The ideas are there, you just need to be careful. And an 18-frame overhead is nothing to sneeze at. It's -17 on block, sure, but just remember, if you're not careful, you will get stuffed by the throw. So be ready to duck after this thing so that you can go for your fastest punish. Because otherwise, you might just get choked. Then we have Robot Apocalypse, which ends overhead and comes off of a 9-frame high, which is actually -8. But as you go down the string, you are more and more safe. The final hit is +2 on normal block, but -3 on a flawless block. So that is something to keep in mind, that there is a flawless block gap in the overhead, but of course that requires you to keep an eye on your flawless block gaps. Then we have, oh wait, I actually jumped the gun a little bit, talking about Say Goodbye before Robot Apocalypse, but hey, there you go. Catastrophic Crash comes off of a really stumpy mid. It's a 10-frame mid, but it's quite stumpy. It takes 3 of them to get within range, and it knocks the opponent back, leaving Terminator at +41 on hit. The full string is -8, and doesn't appear to have a flawless block gap at the end, unlike Robot Apocalypse. The full string is -8, so it's punishable, but you end it partway through to be -7, and the knee itself is -9, so you want to end it partway through to maximize your safety. And then we have... wait. Yeah, we can. Then we have No Escape. This is the most infamous one, because string that Terminator has, because low overhead. Sure, there's 2 flawless block gaps that leave him -7, but if you time your flawless blocks, which hopefully stops doing that, Stop doing that, please. There we go. Terminator is always -7, so you'll need some fast buttons in order to beat him from this. And even then, you have to be mindful of a launching low overhead, which, as you can see, can be pretty nasty. Let's say we do this, and then go for this. Effortless 27%. Nothing to really sneeze at. Then we have Unstoppable Machine, which does not have a flawless block gap in there, and I believe is actually slightly safer. Oh, it does have a flawless block gap in there. Never mind. There we go. It's always -8, but Unstoppable Machine has a crushing blow. If the first hit misses, you get a launcher, and this bad boy allows for really nice damage. It's basically like a very slightly weaker version of the uppercut launcher, so it's really nothing to sneeze at. Then we have all of the strings. So let's talk universal special attacks. There's a lot to talk about here. And then, is there anything I'm missing? No. First up, let's talk about that shotgun. Sawed Off is a 31 frame projectile. It's very slow and very minus. However, you can amplify it in 2 different directions. If you back up with this thing, it goes from high to mid, and you can amplify it twice to get more damage and knock them down. However, if you want to advance on the opponent, you have to sacrifice the mid property. It becomes, all 3 of them become highs. So if you want to use this thing, bam, 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 and move in. But you can leave them standing if you just go for the second shot, leaving Terminator at +12 in this case. Or if we walk in, plus enough to go for a potential throw. Bam, bam. +16, not bad. Then we have the Gorilla Press Slam. This is a true command grab that does less damage than the normal throw. I don't understand this logic. Frankly, for me, a lot of these command grabs need to be less than... They basically need to flip this. This is a perfect example. This needs to do 140. This needs to do 120. So, take that for what you will. Then you can amplify it in 2 different ways. You can amplify it right away to throw them down for more damage, or amplify it down for less damage, but being +10. So you get plus frames and restand the opponent. So if we get this, go for the damage, 35% exactly, or you launch them. It's gonna be a little bit tricky for me to do. Miss my amplify, but you can put them on the ground in order to keep your plus frames and deprive them of a breakaway. Speaking of breakaway, for some reason I'm not getting it, but this attack, check this out, beats breakaway. This is his breakaway beater. It's a pseudo universal attack because there is actually a command grab that replaces this in one variation. And look at that. Damage for days. And if they didn't break away, that was 292 versus... God, give it to me. 286. So you actually get more damage off, at least from an uppercut. So if we do this, we get 307. Restand them, +10, go for a throw. However, it is of course less damage than if I comboed into it, but because it's a breakaway meter, this attack is nothing to sneeze at. And then for this one, I'm actually going to have to take control of Spawn for a minute, so give me just a sec. Alright, now let's talk about Killing Machine. I become immune to all projectiles as long as I hold this stance. And I can hold this stance for a very long time. Yeah, I can basically use my back to shield myself from attack for up to 5 full seconds. Which I can do stuff like this. And then absorb any projectiles that come my way. And because of how fast I recover, I can be back and moving in before the opponent even knows what's happening. So, think kind of like Scud Shot Aaron Black, but you don't get a countermeasure for it. But at the same time, you do get the ability to come out of it a little bit faster. Now let's talk about Variation 2, which, actually, I just remembered I did not talk about the Variation exclusive things for Variation 1. Oh, I've had a hell of a day. Excuse me while I quickly revert that. Oh, I feel terrible now. Sorry, folks, but we'll keep going. Big stretch. Whew. Okay, let's see. What am I with? Infiltrator Toss, Cyber Rift, and the Endo Lunge. Okay. Alright, Infiltrator Toss. Anti-air grab. Anti-air throw. Throw the opponent aside like a piece of garbage. In fact, we'll have them jump in at us. You get 110 out of it. If you amplify, you get a little bit of extra damage. And as you can see, you can amplify twice. So, in a combo situation, auto random, we go, let's do this. Jump in. Look at that. That is 39%, or that's 38.5%. For 2 bars, yes, but no crushing blows either. So it's actually fairly decent damage. Then we have Cyber Rift, which is a tricksy little low. And if you remember, we have a low overhead, now we have a low. That does basically the same amount of damage. In fact, I think it does slightly more damage. Yes, it does. And if you amplify this, it becomes a low projectile. So you need to be wary of that sort of thing. So, and remember, you also have this attack, which allows you to go right into the Cyber Rift in order to catch opponents ducking, or opponents blocking, get thrown. Pretty nasty, if I might say so myself. Fortunately, 4-2 does not tick grab into the Gorilla Press Slam, so that's good. Then we have Endo Lunge, which is a 28 frame overhead, which can be amplified for more damage. This, nothing to write home about. This is basically a slightly faster version of Shao Kahn's lunge, with ridiculous range. There's normal, here's close, and here's far. So you can leap over some low projectiles with this and punish somebody, but I wouldn't recommend substituting some of your attacks with this, because you have faster overheads. You have a 20 frame here, which then gets replaced with the 26 frames, so you're giving your opponent the extra 6 frames to react. You can connect that, but I don't know how well it would work as mix. So I would experiment. This is a very mixy-schmixy variation with a little less side helping it damage. Almost feels like a Mortal Kombat character, or Mortal Kombat X character, if the damage if there's a little less damage and more emphasis on this. Now we can move on to Dark Fate, because we can actually talk about the stuff that is unique to that variation. Which includes quite a lot of stuff. I'm going to have to talk about that second thing later. First, I want to check something, because I don't think he has an armor break in this variation. No, he doesn't. So you're sacrificing your ability to armor break for a pretty nasty command grab overall. Because the I'll Be Backbreaker does the same damage as a normal Gorilla Press Slam, but it has multiple amplifies, and you can choose where it goes, unlike the other amplify. Or unlike the Gorilla Press Slam, which forces you to side switch. Then you have Amplify Forward, And if you land, which by the way does 160 damage, it does more damage than the Gorilla Press Slam. And then if you have done all of this before, if you've done Amplify Forward, Throw Forward, and the normal, and then you go for the normal Amplify, Crushing Blow, baby! For really nice damage. Like, that was easy cakes. And normally it does 160 as well, so it's nothing to scoff at. I'll Be Backbreaker trades the Armor Break for being overall a better command grab in terms of things like, oh, I can throw you and keep you in the corner now, or I can get a little more damage off. I don't have to worry about, oh, do I have to restand or do I have to give up the corner, because the only way to not give up the corner is to use meter. Sure, the Armor Break is appreciated, but I think Dark Fate Terminator still is one of his best variations overall. And that is partially because we have the Running Man variation. The Running Man special move. This move is where the big guy just runs at you, just menacingly. And this is one of a handful of runs. Jade has one too, but this is really scary. First off, there's a mid. I forgot to set the auto on. Which is -7 on block. So it's basically safe. Then you have the punch, which is -6 on flawless block. So it's actually safer on block. And, as if that wasn't enough, you could do stuff like this. Okay, pretend that didn't Crushing Blow. But still, you can do stuff like... You can just go in and go for various attacks. So, this is your launcher in the corner. So, expect the damage in the corner with Terminator to be insane. Yeah. Forward 4, please. Okay, I can't seem to get the command grab in time, but still. Oh, I see what I can do. Come on. This is why my videos run too long in this series. There it is. Look at that, 32%, 1 bar. In the corner, yes, but still. And then we have the tackle, which is a true throw with a ridiculously long end leg of 1.5 seconds. If you manage to avoid getting thrown by the Terminator, which remember, because it's classed as a true throw... Oh, is it really classed as a mid? Ah, it is a mid throw, so don't mess around with this thing. So, what happens if you get tackled? You get put on the floor and you take 11%. But then if you amplify it, he stands on you in the groin. Rude. And this has a Crushing Blow too, because of course it does. If Terminator runs for, I believe, 2 steps, I'm going to turn off easy Crushing Blows just to make sure. The idea is that after 2 steps, I hit the tackle and amplify it. 1, 2. Yep. 33%. And look, I had easy Crushing Blows off. 1 step is not enough. Generally speaking, when it says, unless it specifies otherwise, it looks like, generally speaking, a far distance is 2 steps. 1, 2, go. So with Rambo on the horizon, I feel like that is going to be what it is. 2 steps in order to get that Crushing Blow with the throws. But this is incredibly painful to look at. So let's talk about Death Grip. It's an air throw. You can throw it behind you, or throw them in front of you. Keep in mind, though, that I'm going to actually have Spawn jump. It doesn't do a lot of damage on its own. It does about 10% damage. It's like Shiva's throw. It's like Shiva's stomp. But if you amplify it, you actually lose some damage. So why would you amplify it? If you guessed because of frame advantage, you'd be correct. Spawn is left open after this. Not quite open enough to be stunned, but open enough to potentially be thrown. And you get a restand situation so your opponent cannot be woken up. Now let's talk about the third variation, Final Judgment, which I believe is Terminator's least used variation, and I have a feeling I know why. Okay, yeah, that's because this is the grenade variation, and the grenades are not exactly reliable. But we have some really cool stuff here. First up is the Incapacitator. I said the Incapacitator. Thank you. This replaces your shotgun. And what it does is that it does 50 damage, unblockable, and the yellow guff on there basically prevents the opponent from using meter. No amplified attacks, no flawless block attacks, no get up attacks, and no environmental interactions. So basically, no meter. And it's unblockable, so you've basically shut down your opponent's ability to use meter for a sizable period of time, which, if you consider a knockdown situation, they get up, you can easily meaty them without worry of a stray up free. Then you have Rolling Ion Grenade, which is kind of like Cyrax's bombs, except they're mids, not lows. So you throw this out, you throw this out, and as you can see, it pops the opponent up. So you can see where this could come in real handy. Pop them up, and then go for a Gorilla Press Slam or something. You amplify it to make it explode right away, so you can use it in combos. So let's say, hang on. There we go. 30% with both bars, and the opponent is far enough to eat an Incapacitator. Keep in mind that Terminator can't throw an Incapacitator again until the Incapacitator wears off. And that is basically the Terminator. One scary son of a bitch. Seriously, he's one of those characters I look at when they get picked from the character select screen, and I'm like, I am in so much trouble. And finally, we have Terminator's Fatal Blow, which is called Chill Out. It's an 18-frame mid, looks like an overhead, and unlike the other 18-frame wall-up like that he has, it's actually a mid. Does sizable damage. And the reason why we're in Dark Fate is because there is a really scary combo that I can do with this to close out the video. So, don't forget to be awesome, my friends. I'll see you guys on the other side, and please enjoy this Terminator combo. There it is.
Get over here.